How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the police-involved shooting in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour to an hour and a half west of Philadelphia. Now, this shooting caused a bunch of so-called protests in Lancaster that led up to some riots. You had BLM and Antifa. They were throwing all kind of sticks and rocks and bottles and whatnot, whatever they could to police. And it had to get dispersed with tear gas and some more stuff. Now, before I go down the road of giving you my 2 cents and my thoughts on it, let me start from the beginning, just so we're on the same page with each other and so you understand what's going on. Now, the police were called to a residence in Lancaster because of a domestic disturbance. When they get there, you have 27-year-old Ricardo Munoz, who rushed out of the place he was in with a knife. Now, I do have the full body cam video of that. I cannot play it right here. We are on the YouTubes, so I'll place that in the box below. But when he ran out of the place, he had the knife in his hand, and it was clearly visible. Matter of fact, I'll place a screenshot of the knife and Ricardo Munoz right on the screen before you. You can see it right there for yourself. He had a knife in his hand. Now, when the knife came out, the officer retreated a little bit to give him some space. And as he turns around, Ricardo was still rushing at him with the knife in his hand in, a clear attack stance. So the officer shoots Ricardo, I think, 2 or 3 times maybe. Ricardo falls and he dies. Now, as a result of that, you got all these so-called protesters out there going to the police station first. We want justice. Black Lives Matter. Hands up, don't shoot. All this, that, and the third. I'm like, wait a minute here. Why are you talking about we want justice and Black Lives Matter? Do you even know what happened? Because by that time, the body-worn camera footage was not out. Now, to their credit in Lancaster, they put it out pretty quick. And I think when they put the body cam footage out, a lot of the crowd dispersed. However, the BLM and the Antifa and the general rabble-rousers did not disperse when the video came out because their whole thing was about being against police, period. And I wouldn't be surprised if these guys got flown from place to place to go and cause insurrectionist action, to cause chaos, to start a fire and then recruit other people that don't know what's going on to fan the flames of the fire. I would not be surprised. I mean, you got the reporters who were traveling place to place and they're covering it. If the reporters are always there and they're at all the different events, why can't the so-called protesters be there? I mean, I don't know, but I digress. My whole point is that the protests and riots and whatnot were not necessary. They were not justified. It's not justified anyway to burn up your own town or to hurt innocent people. That's not okay anyway. But there was no reason even for the lefties to do this, aside from just hating the cops and hating people that live in Lancaster in general. But I'll move right along. This guy, Ricardo Munoz, is reminding me of Jacob Blake. It's a whole thing. Jacob Blake had a knife. That's been proven. Either he had a knife in his hand, which may have been seen on the screenshot, or he was going to his car to get the knife. And this was happening while the police were trying to detain him. He was wrestling with the police, fighting with the police, and he may have produced a knife while tussling with him, or he was trying to go get it. In this case, the guy had a knife in his hand. All right. You can't say, oh, innocent black men, unarmed black men, when you got guys with knives trying to stab people. That's not really how it goes. And also in Jacob Blake's situation, someone called the police. Okay. In the case of Ricardo Munoz, probably the Hispanic lady, the mother, somebody, I heard that she said IDEO on it. After he got shot, she's like, IDEO. Speaking in Spanish, this is not a black person at all. And a quick side note, since Ricardo Munoz obviously is not black and the lady who called the police was not black, does this mean that BLM thinks all lives matter? Because normally when a white person gets shot by the police, they don't care at all. Justified or not, they don't care. It's all about black folks. But this guy was clearly Hispanic. So I guess we're being more inclusive. Different story. I digress. My whole point is that Jacob Blake and Ricardo Munoz are very similar to each other. Both justified by the police. Both were caused by the person that got shot. And just like Jacob Blake, Ricardo Munoz had a record. As a matter of fact, he had a recent record of violent acts involving a knife. I think he had stabbed 4 people or something crazy. Now, my question, which was also posed on Twitter to me, was why is he even out, considering this? He already done tried to stab 5 people before. Okay, you were locked up on a knife crime and you got let go on a knife crime. What was the thought process behind that? Oh, he won't do it again. He's a good boy. I don't understand. Was it because of the virus? You're letting these criminals go to prey upon the community, to prey upon innocent women and children for what? And then when they get shot, after preying upon people and trying to attack officers, it's somehow the officer's fault. It's somehow hands up, don't shoot, Black Lives Matter. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think that if you're out there hurting people, you're out there trying to stab people, don't get surprised when somebody shoots you. Okay, nobody wants to shoot anybody. Nobody that's of, sound mind and is not some kind of psychopath or just a criminal in general. Nobody wants to shoot people, but good grief, what am I going to do when you got a knife on me and you try to stab me? There was an immediate reaction to this, kind of just a snap of the finger. There's no thought process behind these so-called protests. All right, if you really want to go out there and make some change, how about changing some of these areas in which people live? I'm sure that neighborhood that Ricardo was in was not some kind of Shangri-La. Focus your energy on that rather than focusing on trying to defend this criminal who had a record already, who already been to jail on a knife crime before, who shouldn't even been home to begin with. As I close, I want to say this: the BLM so-called protests and riots are not justified at all, but they're most certainly not justified in this case, because there was no case to even be talking about. The guy had a knife, charged a cop, and somebody called the police on him. Jacob Blake, same thing. George Floyd, same thing. The police are not just out there just trying to hunt people down and hurt them and whatnot. That's not how it is. Okay, you will have a life free from police interaction in general if you just abide by the law. Okay, don't be on the highway smoking weed, smoking crack, and don't be trying to break into somebody's house and scaring their mama with a knife. Don't do that. Jacob Blake, same thing. Don't go to your ex-girlfriend's house and touch her inappropriately and stuff like that and try to fight the police and then go for a knife. Don't do that. If you do just normal basic things to preserve yourself, you'll be just fine. I've yet to see an episode of somebody getting shot and killed by police that was black especially, that didn't do anything wrong. I've yet to see that. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that anytime somebody gets shot by police, the police are right. Generally, 99.9% of the time they are, yes. Sometimes they're wrong, but rarely. Like Walter Scott, the cop was wrong for doing what he did. However, Walter Scott, if he would have stayed in the car and not tried to run away, he would have been fine. Rarely have I ever, if I've ever seen a black person get shot and killed by the police that was doing nothing wrong. This is not a real narrative upon which we can build anything. It's a foundation built upon quicksand. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Was the protest in Lancaster justified because of Ricardo Munoz? He shouldn't have got shot. They should have tased him or something like that. Now, if that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. But I got a question. If you think that Ricardo Munoz should have been tased or batoned or just not shot and killed, what else are you going to do when you got your gun out saying stop, freeze, and you charge him with a knife? Like, if I got my gun drawn like this and your knife is like this, I have to shoot you. I don't want to, but I have no choice. Is what I'm saying right here at my own point that this guy, Ricardo Munoz, seal his own fate. He had a recent record, a recent rap sheet. I don't mean a thing from 20 years ago when he was a little kid and he's grown now. No, you're talking about last year, maybe not even the full 12 months ago. This guy was out there committing the same kind of crime. It probably was with that same knife he had in his hand. This guy was a violent person, a criminal who got the police called on him by those that he may have known. It could have been a home invasion. It could have been, an associate he was trying to live with. I don't know what was going on. Either way it goes, the police were called on him. He was dangerous. He was armed, and he tried to attack a cop. This is the same case I see all over the place. Jacob Blake, George Floyd, all these people are not innocent, but they are treated as innocent victims. But whatever your thoughts are Please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.